Hi, welcome to another episode of Build Time. I'm Tony Spiro, the CEO at Cosmic. In this episode, I'm going to be going over this article that I wrote yesterday titled Best Practices Using React Server Components with a Headless CMS. So let's dive into it. So, since React Server Components came out, it has garnered a lot of praise, skepticism, as well as been the butt of a few developer jokes, namely comparing this to PHP, which in all honesty, I think has been quite a bit of an improvement to the developer workflow when using React frameworks such as Next.js. So in this article, I did mention that since Next.js released React Server Components, it has made working with data fetching a lot easier, and I'll show you exactly what that is like. So in the pages router way of fetching data, we've got a few different examples of how to do that. If you're looking at what it's like on the documentation, we have a lot of different examples showing you how to use get static props, get static paths, get server-side props. So it kind of had a lot of boilerplate code that you had to go through, mainly because you were fetching data at build time. And I think this is sort of using that old Jamstack approach of fetching your data at build time and rendering it, whereas rendering content server side has really simplified that process. So if you go to the app router and we're fetching data from React Server Components, you'll notice that we don't need to do a lot of logic to render data. It simply uses this async function at the top level of your component, and then it allows you to use await to fetch your content. So this could be from a database, or it could be from a headless CMS in our instance. So this wasn't available prior to Next.js 13. So this is quite a big development, especially when we're considering developer experience and fetching data. And so that's kind of what I wanted to explore in this article, was what nice benefits have come about because of React Server Components and how they can be used with Headless CMS to build powerful applications. All right, so let's get into it. I want to just kind of take a step-by-step through the code examples. So let's start by firing up a new Next.js 14 application. So I'll go into my terminal here and using bun create a new Cosmic demo application. So I'll go ahead and click yes and no to all the different things here. And I've noted this in the article exactly what to include and what not to include. Now let's go ahead and get into our application with these commands. All right, so now I should have this application running at localhost 3000. All right, now we have our Next.js application running, and we can go ahead and follow along into the next steps of this article. So we're going to copy and paste this Tailwind UI example because I think this gives us a good idea of a good starting point for when you're building out a modern website. This could be like the home page of a new project that you're building. So let's go ahead and copy this this UI code, and selecting React, we'll go ahead and grab this code. And as you can see, you can also toggle to see the code on this view as well. So let's go ahead and fire up a new code editor. All right, now that we have the code set up, let's go ahead and copy and paste our Tailwind example directly into this page and hit save. And you'll notice that we did indicate in the article that this will throw an error. So when this reloads, it'll say React Server Component error, and this is because it's doing some state management. And so because that is not allowed in React Server Components, we'll have to remove that. So let's go ahead and add some of these other dependencies as well for good measure. This global CSS file can be updated as well, so we can preserve some of the styles from Tailwind. Okay, let's find our global CSS. So we're commenting out just those dark styles. Just for demonstration purposes, since this doesn't have the use client directive at the top of this file, this will all render server side, right? If I did include use client here, it will render client side. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and break up our components into server and client side. Okay, so following along with this article, since we can't use use state, right? This is what's happening in this Tailwind UI example. It's using use state to open and close this menu. We're going to have to separate this out. So let's take everything from the header. So let's create a new folder titled components. And then let's add a file header.tsx. So let's add everything from this header element into this file, export function header, and then we'll return our code. And we have to make sure to grab the functionality as well. So let's add our state logic for opening and closing that mobile menu, as well as these other dependencies and functions. All right, so that should make that red line go away. Okay, so now that we've hit save, you'll notice we don't have what we need here, which is to name this a client-side component. So let's go ahead and add to the top here, use client, and that will tell Next.js to render this client side. All right, so now that we've done that, we need to include this in our page. So let's import header from @components/header, and then if I remember correctly, we had it right underneath that first element, and then we hit save, and there we go. All right, it's there now, and as we can see, it does include this mobile menu. Great. So now that we've removed that server-client clashing error, we can keep going. So now that we have our separation of server-side and client-side components, there's something we need to keep in mind, which is we don't want to render the full navigation client-side because that would negatively impact SEO. So I'm sure there may be some people who will correct me about this and say, well, because it does render in the page itself, it shouldn't cause any SEO issues, and on first render it should load fine. But in my opinion, if we're saying use client, I'm going to assume that it won't show at all in our server-side rendering. So for SEO purposes, in my opinion, it's better to be safe and make sure that you're rendering everything at build time of the page. And so with that, I'd like to separate this out between mobile navigation and that main navigation as well. So to do that, we're going to separate this out into the page as a React Server component, the header as a React Server component, and then this mobile nav as a client-side component. So let's go ahead and do that. So creating a new folder here for mobile nav. Okay, let's make the naming convention similar. And let's go ahead and we'll copy and paste this over just to make things simple. and we'll say that this is our, so we'll go ahead and remove all of the logical things here, and we'll say that mobile nav will reside there because it's hidden on the large screen. Let's go ahead and add that here. And make sure to have this dialog. This is our mobile menu, right? We'll add that here as well. We'll put it inside of a fragment. So now that we have everything together, we can hit save, and this should function properly. We have our dialog, mobile menu, all that good stuff. And then we can begin to remove these other elements not needed. And also we can remove use client from our header server side component. Since this is a server side component header, and now this is a client side component. This should work as expected, and then we've now used this mobile nav component to render right there. Let's go ahead and at the top of this page import mobile nav from components mobile nav. Make sure that that's proper. Mobile nav. All right. So that should be exporting properly now that we've fixed the name. And let's reload this. And there we go. So now what do we have? We have a page server component. We have a header server component. And then we have our mobile client component. So that's how this is broken up now. In my opinion, it's a safe way to render your content, making sure that you're rendering the server-side data properly and also maintaining that client-side functionality. All right, so let's go back into this article, and you'll notice that we've now gone into the part where we start to add the cosmic power, which, in my opinion, makes this a compelling article for anyone that's looking to involve your team in managing the content on your website. And so with that, I've gone ahead and created all of these models already. So go to cosmicjs.com and log into your dashboard. You can log in with Google. And this RSC demo has the models already put together. So to do this, you go to object types, create a new object type, and it should walk you through exactly the modeling that you'll need. I've already done that here in our pages object type. So we have our headline, subheadline, and hero. And a nice thing about this is that you can click into this object that you've created and click into developer tools, and you'll see instant access to code that you can copy and paste into your application. Specifically for us, we're going to be using this SDK for JavaScript. So this article goes over how you can do that, step-by-step process of installing Cosmic with Bun. I'll go ahead and do that here. And then creating your configuration file at lib/cosmic.ts. So I'll go ahead and do that here. And to get our API access keys, you go to this link in the dashboard, and you can just copy, paste, copy, paste. Hit save. All right, and then we go to the next steps. So in our app /page TSX file, go ahead and copy and paste this. Save. refresh the page. And now we're powered by Cosmic. All right. But notice something happened. We lost our header. Okay, so let's go back into this. And before we move on to adding back the global header, the big takeaway with this, when you look at the way that this is rendering the data, this is quite nice, where we only have this single await Cosmic objects, get your type, your slug, and tell Cosmic what to send down the pipeline, which is just the metadata. No get server-side props, no get static paths, no nonsense. Just get my data and render it. And if that makes this PHP, then I love PHP. So this is quite a big improvement with React Server Components. You'll see like data being fed into these areas here in the H1, as well as this subheadline, and then this image being rendered through as well. So a really basic example, but a good example to start with, just to understand the difference between the old way of using the pages router and then the new app router with React Server Components. All right, so moving along here. So now let's add our global header, which I think is important for us to note is that we want to make our header global. So it's not going to live inside of the page file. It's actually going to be pulled out a level into our layout file. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this into our layout file. So that's located here in the app folder. Copy, paste. Notice that header is coming through and being added right into the body tag. So after saving, you'll notice it pops right back. All right, and we do have our client-side drawer as well. Next steps are adding this dynamic data into the header. So what I've done here is I've created a new object type for navs, and you'll see that I've got a header and a footer. So let's just look at the modeling. So we've created this repeating item for the links that we'll have on this application. Product, features, marketplace, company. These are all hard-coded right now, but in Cosmic you can create a repeating model of those links, and this can be done by using this repeater field. Just dragging and dropping that, right? We've already done that for our items. So now that we have our nav items, we're just rendering text, a link, and then also a switch tab to say that this either opens in a new tab or remains on the same tab. So going into our nav object for header, you'll see that we have about, product, features, marketplace, and then a link out, which opens in a new tab to the Cosmic contact page. All right, so let's add that into our menu to make that menu dynamic. So simple copy and paste from here as well, component/header. So notice that before this was rendering from a simple array of objects. Now we're going to power this by Cosmic. And now we have a React Server component that uses this async header, and it awaits the nav objects, specifically the header. It's a find one method to get the header, and then render the metadata, which is what we did with our meta fields, right? These are the meta fields. It renders out the metadata. So now going to this page, we see we have about, product, features, marketplace, contact us. These are all coming through from Cosmic. There's a little bug here because of the fact that we haven't yet made this mobile nav dynamic yet. So let's comment that out until we get to it. And so now we have links out to our different pages. And then this Contact Us page actually opens up a new tab. Next up, let's go ahead and add our mobile nav to power content with Cosmic. And to do that, we go into our mobile nav file, paste that code, hit save, and then in our header file, notice we've commented this out, so let's uncomment it. And now notice that this data is actually coming through from the server side. So we're not actually pulling any content from the client side into the mobile nav. It's actually using the same code, the same data, to render into the client side component. Okay. Moving on. So now if we want to add more pages, we've added a new page for About. We'll need to add a new file into our code base, right? Create a new React server component, page.tsx. So we create a new file here for about/page.tsx. Paste our code. Notice this needs to say about. I can update this article for that. So now, same as the home page, it's an async function. It awaits the data from Cosmic. Find one page with slug about, and then render our metadata. So we have our page metadata for headline, subheadline, as well as our hero. All right, so let's check this out. We go to About, and now we have Space is dope. All right, let's go on a spaceship ride. Okay, so that's how you render your React server component data, and you separate your client components, and that's how you use Cosmic as your content management system. There's a few other examples here that goes over how to add the links into Cosmic so that you can also add additional links here. So I'll go ahead and show you how you can do that. So going into header, let's say we wanted to remove the product, features, marketplace links. Those aren't ready yet. So let's save, refresh the page. All right, so now it's just About and Contact Us. And then you go back to the home page, and you notice that even on mobile, those links have changed there too, because that's rendering server side and then populating the data via props in the client component. Okay, so just to go over everything, React server components makes it really easy, makes for a better developer experience to handle data for using Headless CMS. We checked out how to do that with Cosmic. I showed you using React server components with pages in Next.js using the async and await feature that's now available. It removes the need for any server-side props or get static paths, so it creates a much better, more enjoyable developer experience. I showed you how to separate between the header and page components, where to set the React server components, where to set use client to make it a client-side component, and that's about it. So go to cosmicjs.com. If you follow this banner, you can get to the blog from the top menu, and you'll notice we do have this article ready to go, so you can check it out, follow along, and yeah, can't wait to see what you guys build. Thank you. Bye.